Sam Heughan.
Hello, mate.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Yes, in the sweatbox.
Yeah, I know it gets incredibly hot in here. We will start to become one with these chairs eventually.
Good.
But this is probably, at this stage, my second favourite place I've interviewed you in person.
Where was the first?
I'm going to let you guess. I mean, we've done, 3 interviews in person?
Yeah.
I mean, do you want me to tell you?
I think probably the favourite one was outside the Eiffel Tower, was it?
Yeah,
in one.
That was incredible. I mean, I think they call it magic hour, when the light is just perfect.
Golden. Yeah.
Sunsets, sunlight on the Seine.
The Eiffel Tower, just the lights glittering as they lit up. I think we almost had a couple of glasses of champagne while we guerrilla filmed some illegal filming around the Eiffel Tower and then prepared to run away from the gendarmes. So.
I know. You sort of watch movies and you think, yeah, I mean, it's all done legit, fully permitted up. And then the truth is, it's like, just turn the camera on.
Turn the camera on and make sure no one's watching. Pretend like you're not doing anything. Yeah.
Because that was the unofficial rap party, sort of unofficial rap party to SAS Red Notice.
That's right.
It turned into a rap party.
It did. It was we'd shot in Budapest, where you had come also to interview us in the freezing cold.
Oh, that was my fault though, because you were dressed properly for that weather, and I was like, "Ooh, I'll put on my stylish coat."
Yeah,
bad idea. That was the coldest I've ever been.
You look stylish though. You look great.
Thanks. Yeah.
And then we obviously in Paris to finish the sort of that section of SES, and then I think we actually filmed. We filmed in London, or was it after? I can't remember. We did pickups. We went to Spain as well. So you've been on quite the journey with us on that movie.
I really felt like I was on a journey. And that night was great. A lot of wine was quaffed. I did get a bit of anxiety when we were in that Chinese restaurant. When you get that thing, I was like, are we that table? Are we the Brits abroad?
I think we were.
Not us particularly, the other people at the table.
Yeah, we were quite civilized, but I think there was a large group of us that consisted of, drunk actors, financiers, producers, a psychopath, and yourself. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it was fun.
It's always the investors who start you off.
The worst. Right. Yeah.
Let's blame them.
Yeah.
Let's blame the people who made your movie happen.
That's a great way to go around business, right?
So how is it then? You've just finished Outlander season 6. You're in London. Decompressing. Do you have to decompress?
Yeah. Honestly, I was just saying to you outside there, we were just chatting, and it really is a sort of transitional moment, and it's sort of sometimes it takes me very hard to sort of switch off, and for the first few days after shooting and completing a season of Outlander, you're sort of still on this almost hamster wheel of getting things done and doing things. So I came to London. I have a bunch of meetings and various things going on, but suddenly it's just dawned on me, I'm like, I'm done. And it is, to be fair, the shortest season we've done. It's only 8 eps, but it was potentially one of the hardest, because we were shooting during a pandemic and there were just a lot of factors involved that made it, pretty difficult to shoot. So I've been celebrating. I've been enjoying being amongst people again and, things opening up as well. In Scotland, we've been in a kind of a lockdown, a lot more strict than you guys have in England. So it's nice to actually see people.
So you've been, about 4 months filming up there? Was it February?
We started January the 3rd.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How isolated are you up there? Because obviously I know you've got a studio just outside Glasgow that you do a lot of stuff in, but then like when you're filming actually out in rural Scotland, are you away from everything? Do you stay in a trailer? Are you camping?
Yeah. Basically, they've upgraded us now to like, not the pop-up tent, but now I've got a
glamping.
Yes, glamping. That'd be lovely, wouldn't it? I've often thought that as well, when you get like your caravan, your trailers, your unit base, which is, obviously all your trailers there and everyone has their own one. Like, why do we bother going to stay in a hotel? Just stay in your trailer and you wouldn't have to get up as early. But no, we're primarily at our studios, which are fantastic, that have grown from, a dusty old warehouse that sort of, you could call it a soundstage, to now we have 5 full sound stages. We have a whole back lot, which is a whole town, frontier town, pretty much, set in the late 1700s in America. And then we shoot all around Scotland. We were just shooting up in Glencoe the last 3 days. And it really was. There's still snow up there on the mountains. There's, of course, midges. There's everything else. But it was stunning. And it felt very much, that is Outlander.
I mean, I love that part of the world. I spent most summer holidays for about a decade on the west coast of Scotland. So like Arran, Skye, Oban, Mallaig, Arisaig, all of there. And actually not far from Glencoe, about an hour away, Loch Awe.
Loch Awe is stunning. It's I'm glad you said that, because I love the west coast of Scotland. And people do go up, especially tourists, and they'll drive around the North Coast 500, or they go to Edinburgh or whatever. But the islands are the most magical part. And I think part of our TV show that I created, Men in Kilts, was about that, about trying to introduce people to that side. It's very magical.
So now you've finished Outlander season 6. Are you happy? Because obviously you're a producer on it now, so I guess you've got more concerns, more pressure on your shoulders. Yeah. But are you walking away happy with what you've done with this season?
Yeah. Like I said, it's been challenging. I think just shooting through a Scottish winter. I think during a pandemic, it was weird. We would go to work, especially at the start, and it was we didn't know what was going to happen. I just finished a movie in London, which had similar protocols, the COVID protocols, but to be in Scotland and to see no one on the roads driving to work, and just to be in this world where, it felt like we were the only people at work. It was kind of crazy. So, but I'm really pleased with this season. And it does, as I said, it feels like almost like early Western vibe to it.
Wow.
And, we're building up to the War of Independence, and it's obviously there's time travel as well. And there's all these other elements. So yeah, it feels like a small but mighty season.
So you've been doing it. How long have you been playing Jamie Fraser now? 7 years, is it? Going on 7 years.
It's almost 8. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's mad how fast it goes. And it's been quite a journey. And I feel very fortunate. It's changed my life definitely, and given me a lot of opportunities. But it's mad. You look back. I've even been near the studio, I used to live near here, and sort of looking back when I was, a jobbing actor or trying to get into the industry, and thinking what it would be like to be in a TV show of my own.
How was it though, that first audition? Like, do you remember it like it was yesterday? Did you have to audition
for Outlander?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I'd been in America. I'd done this arena tour called Batman Live, where I played Batman and Bruce Wayne, and it was ridiculously amazing. It's just one of those jobs you never think you'll ever do. And then I'd spent I think almost 4 or 5 months staying in Los Angeles for pilot season, and I got pretty close on a number of jobs, but not got them, and came back to London. I was feeling pretty despondent, and spent all my money, and it was just at this point I was 34, and just thinking, can I keep doing this? And then I had this audition. And I remember when I read it, I just was like, oh, yeah, I know this guy. Like, I can do this. It was strange. I think it really was all about timing. Because also then when I went to do my audition, one of my best friend's wives was the auditioner. She was there. So it just suddenly put me at ease.
Wow.
And then she brought my best friend in, or one of my best friends in, to test with me on the screen test. So it was just like all these sort of...
wow, that's brilliant.
Yeah, it was.
The perfect storm of feeling comfortable.
Yeah.
Because those things must be terrifying.
Oh, they're terrifying, yeah. And I think they've changed a lot. But, I've had experiences where, it used to, in the old days, you go in and you, especially in America, you test for the studio, the network, and there'd be like, the lawyers are there. Their mom, their dog, it was just like a group of 20 people just sitting watching you do a scene. And it really was such an odd experience. But I think it's changed a little bit now.
America's weird. I once did an audition for E! Channel in America as a host, and just because I'd done it in the UK, I rewrote the script they gave me, and I did it. And the look on their faces, they were like, "What are you doing? What? Just read what we've written." It was like heresy.
Wow!
I changed their words, so didn't get the job. Didn't get that job. No.
Yeah, you've upset the whole writers' union now as well.
I found a lovely quote from Diana Gabaldon when you were first cast. I'm not going to do an impression.
Go on.
Of okay. She's got this beautiful sing-song voice, and she speaks crazy fast, doesn't she, as well?
Yeah, she does. She has quite a unique voice. Yeah,
I'll give it a shot.
All right, go on.
That man is a Scot to the bone and Jamie Fraser to the heart.
That's really good.
It's not bad, is it?
Yeah.
Don't. I can see what you're doing. You're trying to make me feel better about that moment in my life.
She's from, Germany. Yeah, it's good. No, that's great.
But what a lovely thing to hear, because obviously I had no idea. I genuinely no idea just how, I knew the books were popular, but they're one of the best selling book series in the world. Yeah. They've sold more than Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Mm-hmm. They've sold more than His Dark Materials, more than Bridget Jones. It's huge, huh?
It's huge. I believe she's also, I remember there was a quote, she also said that I was grotesque.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't find that. I didn't read that one. Can you imagine?
Yeah. That man is grotesque.
Well, in what context?
She's very clever. She has a way with words as well. But I think she'd seen the headshot that I'd taken, and it was like, this man is not Jamie Fraser. He's grotesque from this picture. But then when she saw the audition, she thought I was him. So, yes.
How quickly did you get a new headshot after that?
Straight away. Yeah.
Back on the phone to that photographer.
Oh, can we do another one?
You know when I said make me look, the word was glamorous, not grotesque.
Yes. Lost in translation. But no, she's been great, and she's been such a support and a friend. And throughout the years, always touch base with her, and she's written episodes as well. And yeah, it's remarkable, and it has this great fan base. And I think I was totally unaware of it when I first got the job. If I'd known about the fan base, I think I probably would have thought twice, because it just would have been so overwhelming, I think.
I can imagine. I once interviewed Robert Pattinson at the first Twilight premiere.
Oh, wow.
He did, and the scream was like nothing else I'd ever heard. And the first thing he said to me, when I was like, what do you make of that? He was like, it's not for me, it's for the character. That first word out of his mouth. Yeah. The immediate sort of distancing between the two.
Yeah. Well, it's true. I think, playing an iconic character, and I think Jamie Fraser is definitely one, it's like, they're obsessed with these characters because they're so invested in them, and they want them to be real, and they want them they want to get as close to them as possible. So I think sometimes it is hard for people to separate the actor from the character. And I think he did a great job of sort of going in a different direction, didn't he, afterwards?
Yeah. I guess the positive of that, not that it's a negative where they can't separate, although sometimes you hear about soap stars in particular just getting abused on the street because they're playing a villain in this series arc, and people are like, you ruined it. How dare you? Yeah. But yeah, the other side is just how loyal the fans of Outlander are.
So loyal. We're so thankful for them. They've followed us through this journey, and they also not only support Outlander, but any project that we do, any charity work that we do, myself, my co-stars, they support wholeheartedly. And honestly, we can't thank them enough. And it's a shame, right now with the pandemic and everything, not being able to sort of do these fan events, because they're always really nice, especially Comic Cons, where you get to sort of get to see people's excitement about the thing that you've been working on for so long. Because you sometimes forget when you're, day in, day out on set, you kind of forget that people are anticipating seeing the next one.
Like you said, you've been away for a while before Outlander. And obviously you're a Scot. You're a proud Scot. Is there any other kind?
No. I think we are quite proud. I think Scots have become like more proud recently. I think in the past, remember that Train Spotting quote, shit being Scottish at the lowest of the low. And now, it's like we have some pride. We've always got pride in ourselves, but I think there's this pride in Scotland. I think it feels quite progressive at the moment. And we're doing things slightly differently up there.
Yeah. How did your relationship change with it then once you got Outlander? Because like I said, you've been away for a while. Did your relationship with Scotland change once you were back there, and have been for nearly the past decade?
Yeah, it totally has. So I came to London, and I'd been here 12 years, and I guess worked on and off in Scotland, but I think sort of almost doing Outlander has become almost an ambassador for Scotland, right? And I think I fell in love with my country again, and I fell in love with the outdoors and hiking and climbing, and that's kind of how my charity fundraiser, My Peak Challenge, started. And then also, for instance, even Men in Kilts, the show that I created, and the book I did as well, Clanlands, it's all about sort of sharing that love of Scotland. And I'm a proud Scot. So